Welcome back to the Cable Data Science channel. Today is November 20th, Friday, 2020. Before we get started here, a couple of quick notes. One, there's going to be a link to buy me a coffee in the description, but I would appreciate if you would actually click that link and donate a few bucks so I can have me a nice cup of coffee this afternoon. Second, there will also be a table of contents so you can jump directly to the country you're interested in. This report will be for Spain, Israel, and Pakistan, I believe. Maybe one more, we'll see. But anyway, let's start with Spain, Israel, and Pakistan, okay? So here's the news for Ohio, for Spain. This is 2 days old, of course. Come down here, 3 days old, 3 days old, 1 week old. Travelers to Spain must provide negative test. Uh, Italy and Spain report the highest daily COVID-19 deaths, a second wave. I guess the question is, when did the second wave actually start? Okay, let's go back and review these numbers here in just one moment. Okay, okay, let's go back over to Spain then. Okay, so let's fix this date here for Spain. Okay, so let's pull the data for Spain now. You can see Spain is averaging 4,743 cases per day and 130 deaths. Let's just snag some more data here. Let's take a look at Spain. But Spain's mortality rate continues to not be good. This is a smooth curve, not a daily number. One note about Spain, for some odd reason, they don't actually record numbers on Saturday and Sunday. So what happens is Saturday and Sunday's numbers are added on to Monday's numbers, which creates a lot of unnecessary volatility. Since I'm simply doing a low S curve or a fitted curve, so you can see exactly what's going on with mortality rate. The red line here is the average, under 1%. You can see that they're above 2% on average for the mortality rate. Okay, so here again, we're continuing with the low S curve. Here's cases. You can see cases actually began falling right about here. Okay, okay, this is sort of interesting. What about deaths? Deaths are continuing to climb. Okay, up towards 500. Okay, let's try some here. Let's come back and have a little bit of fun, shall we? Let's fix these. Let's do a scale. Scale. What if we do this right here now? Okay, much better. Much better. So now you can see this is November here. This is December. December's not here yet. So these are actually probably today's. Let's come down here and do this now. Okay, let's come down here. Not sure what this is going to happen with the weekly and monthly cases. Let's try it anyway. See exactly what happens. Okay, so let's just run this report. We're going to go back to the beginning. Let's just run this report from the top. This number doesn't change. Mortality rate, we can see here November, climb back up towards mid-November. See, because there's a line between here. So this is halfway between October and November, and this is halfway between November and December. Okay, so you can see it is beginning to decline down a little bit. Cases by date. Okay, so that's not what we're working at. Well, for those particular things there, let's just come back up here then. Okay, as you can see here, cases by date, deaths by date, cases are falling, but as you can see, deaths are climbing. This line is about 175 deaths. And once again, here you can see exactly what happens. Okay, the spike here, the worst of spike back here. Okay, but it appears that this week won't catch this week's here. And this week was lower than last 2 weeks. Deaths, you can see here there were over 2,000, 4,000, so this is 3,000 deaths here. But it looks like you may have 2 weeks decline in deaths now. Monthly numbers, well, unfortunately, there's a pretty good chance that November's cases will catch October's cases. And November's deaths have already passed October deaths for a 1, 2, 3, 5 straight month increase in deaths. Okay, so that's not particularly good for Spain. Let's go ahead and run this number here, update the table. Okay, let's come back over here now. Let's take a look at Israel COVID-19 news. Okay, coronavirus, Israel live. Israel declares some Arab communities restricted areas. This is great news in a video statement. Israel to sign for 10 million doses of AstraZeneca. Oh, this is interesting. Israel to sign for 10 million doses of AstraZeneca's Covar's vaccine. That's interesting. Israel nears deal for AstraZeneca's numbers there. Interesting. Interesting. UK lists Jerusalem separately from Israel on COVID-19 travel advisory. This is interesting. Starting on starting on starting on Saturday morning, travelers arriving in England from Israel will not have to have a quarantine. What is this saying here? Jerusalem is listed as a separate entity from Israel and UK's updated list of countries to which citizens may travel without quarantine requirements. Conservative friends of Israel expressed outrage at the list. Well, the first problem is you can't get into Israel without going through Tel Aviv, unless you arrive from one of the borders. Let's just make a note of it on parlor for this one also, shall we? Let's see something. That's that's interesting. That's interesting. Okay, let's come back over here now. Let's take a look at Israel. Once again, we have another supposedly Christian nation, certainly found on Christianity, cursing Israel, cursing Abraham. Oh, I also mentioned, I forgot to mention that in the description below, you'll find a link to buy me a coffee. You can click on the link, make a donation, a small donation to help me buy a cup of coffee today. Also, there will be a table of contents that will show both how to get to both the Spain, Israel, and Pakistan's links. Okay, so let's go ahead and run this here now. So Israel is currently 1,013 cases per day, but only 8.5 deaths. Mortality rate is 1.2%, and as you can see, this is good. The daily mortality rate has fallen below 1.2% for the first time since October, September. Okay. Uh, Daily cases, you had a really nice run down here. This appears to be leveling off some, so it'll stay down there. It is lower than it does appear to be lower this number here also. Deaths continue to fall, interestingly enough. So this is 200 or 2,000 cases, 1,000 cases. So it appears that this may be trending back up there. As far as deaths continue to decline. That's the good news. Cases, well, I mean, cases are still pretty low compared to this number over here. Okay, the cases are currently around 5,000 per week. Deaths have fallen 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks now. That's just very good news. Monthly cases, you can see that September was still high, with the highest month, with October coming in second. But it looks like certainly it's like November will not catch October's cases. And November will certainly not catch October's cases. Deaths will not catch October's cases, and it also will not catch either August or September's deaths. So that's very good news for Israel. Okay, so that takes care of the report for Israel. Let's go ahead and update the report here. Okay, where are we here now? I think we should be at Pakistan, shouldn't we? Let's take a look at Pakistan up here again. Pakistan's COVID-19 news. Pakistan and COVID-19 in Pakistan is fighting tirelessly against the odds. Pakistan braces for more lethal second wave. Pakistan, live updates, cases, and news. What about deaths and news? Pakistan coronavirus, 368,000 cases, 7,224 deaths. Okay, so let's open up Pakistan here. Let's do this back up here. Let's turn this back up here so we can get to the full shebang. Date. If this works correctly, it'll give us a label for each month. Okay. We'd update this native. Let's update this to 9. Okay, so you can see here is the Pakistan's average 1,148 cases per day and 24 deaths per day. You can take a look at but if this number is correct, this is 6, this is 4, 3, 4. Okay. You can see that their daily mortality rate is well below average, below this average line right there. Okay. This spike there's 3%, so now there's a lot between 1 and 3% now. So the mortality rate has fallen since July, since September. Okay? You can see cases are definitely spiking up here. Deaths are spiking up, but they are lagging behind at this point. Okay. Once again, deaths. Cases are spiking upward here again. Deaths are spiking up above 25 now. Take a look at the. We had a really nice down run here. Now, the last 4 or 5 weeks, the cases have really been spiking upward, as well as deaths currently are well above these numbers here. Monthly numbers, cases are still well below these numbers here, and deaths are above these three here, but less than these three over here. So it looks like Pakistan is definitely having a struggle on its hand. The question is, what did they do last time to get the numbers down? That's an interesting question. Because this takes care of this part of the report. We'll be back in a little bit for some additional reports. Thanks so much for your time. I'll catch you on the next review.